Watch for snakes.
Watch for animals.
Oh, they get down in here, boy. Yeah, they stop you here, then guys with guns come. If you're not supposed to be in here.
All right, you have just come down the access portal. This is how the crew would have come down. They would not have been on the elevator. They used the elevator for cargo, for equipment, things like that. But they had to pass through the checkpoints on the stairs. All right? The access portal is considered soft construction. In the event of a nearby blast, most likely we're not going to have an access portal after that. This is not what the crew would have seen when they got down here, though. This door would not have been open. This door is called a glass door. It is a 6,000-pound door. There are 4 of them. They are called doors 6, 7, 8, and 9. Go figure. But anyway, this is blast door 6. It is I-beam welded construction, and it is about a foot thick, and it would have been closed and locked when the crew arrived down here. The 4 doors that we have in this facility that are blast doors are part of a system. And that system only allowed one door to be unlocked and opened at a time. So this door would have been closed and locked. When the door was locked, 4 steel pins, 2 came out from up here, 2 came out from down there, and they went right into the door. So that's the little locking system. Doors 6 and 7 were designed to protect the crew from the effects of a nearby blast, the crew in the control room. Doors 8 and 9 are between the crew.
Break it, dude.
You weren't identified as a troublemaker.
I was hoping Louie would take over.
Is that George?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Put him down on that list. Okay, doors 8 and 9 are to protect the crew from their own missile. Those doors are between the control room and the silo. All right, so the crew came down the access portal. They come to a door that's closed and locked. They go over here, they pick up the phone, they say, "Hi, we're at blast door 6. Control room pushes a button, another button's pushed here, the door unlocks. These steel pins retract, all 4 of them. The lowest ranking crew member then had the privilege of opening this door manually. It's not like going to safe where we just step on the mat and the door opens. So the lowest ranking crew member opened the door. The crew brought themselves and their gear through this open way here. They came in, everything's in. They then closed the door and they had to lock it before they could approach the next blast door. When this door is closed and locked, it could withstand 1,000 pounds of overpressure per square inch. It formed an airtight seal when it was closed and locked. To give you an idea what 1,000 pounds of overpressure is per square inch, if you're watching Tornado Chasers on TV and you see a house leveled by a tornado, it takes 5 to 7 pounds of overpressure per square inch to level that home. So this is a very, very well-built facility. Now, while this access portal is considered soft construction, construction changes from here on in. This is considered a hardened facility. The walls here are about 4 feet thick. The rebar used in the construction from here on in varies from about the size of your finger to the diameter of those handrails coming down the steps. The concrete poured into these walls was a continuous pour in each section of this facility. There was a nearby batching plant, and each section that they were pouring, they poured 24 hours a day until that section was complete. So we don't have seams and gaps in the concrete here. And you notice that's why you're in the softened area, and I stand here in the hardened area. I have a little extra safety feature. Now, we are going to pass through an area here which is too small for this size group, even if you are mini people. I can tell my mini jokes. But I want to tell you about something called shock isolation. Anything mission critical in this facility is shock isolated to protect it from the effects of a nearby blast. As we come through here, you're going to see spring-loaded canisters, springs above the lights. All this is part of shock isolation. As we go now to the Launch Control Center, it's going to look a little bit different, but it's there, the shock isolation. So, follow me right now into the Launch Control Center.
Yeah, try to check in from down here. Absolute service. Really? Wow. I'm surprised. Oh yeah. That's why I've got this so I can look. I'm not looking through a viewfinder.
Hey, John, where's your helmet, man? You should be wearing.
I'm only 5'9".
Yeah, liar.
I got my flats on.
That's okay, I went and got my
Okay, come on in.
6'1".
Where's my lady on crutches? Okay, you are back in 1963. Let's not forget that, because everything that I tell you now is relevant for 1963, and you're comparing it. Even if you're only, what year were you born? 2006. Okay, well, we don't have a lot in common here. All right, you are 35 feet below ground, and the shocking thing to you, I would find the shocking, is we are in a 3-story building right now. Above us is the cruise quarters, we are in the Launch Control Center, and below us is an equipment room. So, picture a bird cage like this with 3 floors on the bird cage. The floors are tied together. When you came into this room, you stepped over a gap. Right in that doorway, it's about this wide. Goes all the way around the perimeter of this room. Additionally, we have a couple of springs here. These are the springs. Look over here. See this one? There's one over there. There's 2 more over there. Look at the size of those springs. There's another one back here. This is shock isolation for this 3-story building that we're in. So if we have a nearby blast today, number one, it's a very good place for you to be. Right here, it's a very, very safe place. But when things are moving side to side and up and down, all our critical components are going to move with it. And we don't have a need to individually shock isolate each one of these components. Now I have a commander here. This lady graciously volunteered. And your name? Lisa. Commander Lisa. Now, Commander Lisa could not have been the commander here in 1963 because this is considered a combat position. And then, go figure, women weren't allowed in combat positions. But as the years went on, policies changed. And in the 70s, women were allowed in combat positions, and we have Commander Lisa. I'm going to be your deputy commander today, okay? Now, I'm going to explain some things to everybody. You being the commander, you already know all this. So just bear with me. Okay, I'd like to start over here. This red filing cabinet is really the Emergency War Order Safe, the EWO safe, they call it. Inside that safe, we keep the authentication piece that we need to verify an order if we receive it, and to verify that that order came from the President of the United States. There are 2 locks on that safe. They are combination locks. They were issued to Commander Lisa and myself by the Air Force. We each know our own combinations, and we don't share that with anyone. So if the time came to open that safe, the 2 of us would have to agree and open our respective locks. Now next we have radio gear. We have 3 racks of radio gear here. Communication was vital to this facility. After all, what are we doing here? We're here waiting to receive an order to launch our missile. Now you saw the antennas when you pulled your Mini Coopers into the parking lot? There's one out there, it's huge. Okay? See the antennas before we came below ground here? We have softened antennas. We have hardened backup antennas in case an antenna gets destroyed. We have high frequency, very high frequency, ultra high frequency. We have low frequency. We have buried receive only antennas. We were going to make sure we got that order when it came in. And everything was handled by the deputy commander here. The deputy was in charge of safety, security, and communications. In the middle of these 3 racks of radio gear was a printer. The printer cost about $20,000 in 1963, and it weighed a couple 100 pounds. And you want to guess, it was dot matrix. Okay, remember, we're in 1963. It was state of the art. We didn't have computers in our homes then. Okay, as we come around, we have what's called the alternate launch officer's console here. This was the deputy's realm right here. First thing we have is the launch clock. The launch clock is different than the lunch clock. The launch clock was an 8-day hand-wound clock. Every Sunday they wound up their clock. They calibrated it twice a day with the atomic clock in Colorado, and it was accurate to within a second. When you received an order to launch, it would tell you what time you're going to launch. That information was written on the face of that clock, and it was done with this high-tech grease pencil. Okay. Next, we have a locator board. Now, the crew that just came down the access portal, consisting of Commander Lisa and myself, the deputy, we had 4 people. We had 2 enlisted people with us. We had a ballistic missile analyst tech. That person was in charge of the missile down the hall and its systems. We also had a missile facilities tech. That person was in charge of this facility and all the systems, like air conditioning. The 4 of us came down here. We had a crew of 4 that was leaving at that time. That crew took their locks off the safe. Commander Lisa and I went over there. We verified the contents of that safe. When we were pleased with that verification, I'll call it, we placed our locks on that safe. The crew left, and here we were with our 4 people. Now, if we had a problem during the time we were here that we couldn't handle with the 4 of us, we called Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson. They sent us specialists, and those specialists dealt with the problems that we couldn't handle. Now, these specialists came down here. The deputy kept track of where everybody was working. It was critical for our safety and security that we knew where everybody was at any time. If we got an order to launch our missile, we sure wanted to know how many people were out in the silo working. Safety and security. All right, this is a monitor. It's hooked up to one of the checkpoints that you walk through coming down the stairs. There's a camera at one checkpoint. This is the only thing that the crew could see. This monitor no longer works. It was built in the late 50s and we can't get parts for it. But this isn't like on TV where you have 24 or more TV screens and you want to know what that lady's doing down the hall. You push a button and you go, oh, there she is, you know. The crew could see virtually nothing. If we had a problem topside, if the tipsy alarm sounded, the crew didn't go up there and check it out. They called Davis-Monthan Air Force Base and security police came down here and took care of it. So the crew really was operating blind. Even when our silo doors opened, it said that the crew could neither hear it, see it, nothing. They didn't know the door was opening. That's why they depended on the tipsy alarms to sound as that 760-ton silo door crossed those beams. Okay, next we have our power control board. We got our electricity from the power company just like you do your homes. The difference was that missile required continuous electricity. Here in the Southwest, we often have power outages. So if we had a power outage, we have a huge diesel generator on level 3 of the silo that would take over, kick on. The problem is it takes a couple minutes to get fully up to speed. And during that time, Commander's worried she's not going to have electricity. We have 2 batteries this size below us in the equipment room that will come on, provide the electricity until that diesel generator is up to speed. Should you need to launch your missile during that brief time, you could do it on those batteries. Pretty amazing. Okay, next we have our tipsy alarms up here, and you will hear them ring shortly as the silo door opens. Next, the ballistic missile analyst tech could monitor the missile systems right here from this console. Next, we have the butterfly valve. You heard about the butterfly valve in the movie. This is a cutaway of that valve. Now, remember, we are dealing with hypergolic fuels. So we're depending upon a mixture of a fuel and an oxidizer to provide ignition. There is no ignition system on this missile. I'm not going to send Birdie down the hall to turn the key on the missile and warm it up for launch. Doesn't look like that. No pilot light. No pilot light. Okay, so this is on an oxidizer line. So this needs to be open for the oxidizer to flow, for it to mix with the fuel. So they put this on it to close it, but that wasn't enough. They put a lock on it. They don't want this to mix ahead of time. That could be disastrous, especially if your silo door is not open. Okay, so how do you get this open to launch? Well, the Air Force put in this valve lock here, and you have to enter a code to open it. You have 6 pinwheels. On each pinwheel, there's 16 characters. So there's just shy of 17 million possibilities for the code for the butterfly valve. So Commander Lisa's not going to sit here and say, let's try to figure out the butterfly valve code. If you wait for the order to launch, that code's going to come in with the order to launch. It is then entered up here by one of the techs. Now, the Air Force put a tries counter on it. More safety and security, TRY, tries counter. For the life of this system, you can only try to enter that code 6 times. On the 7th try, everything was going to shut down and lock tight. You would need many man and women specialist hours to come down here to reset this system. During that entire time, your missile's not going to be on alert. So, nobody wanted this to happen. They had as many backup systems as they could think of. Next, we have our target selection. As Commander can see over here, we're set on target 2 today, and this facility was always set on target 2. The crew did not know the location of target 2, and to this day, that information remains classified. One of the reasons for leaving it classified is that somebody that was a target in 1963 might be an ally today. You're not going to say, gee,
Oh, hey, by the way.
guess what?
Back in the day.
You were a target back in '63. The other possibility is they might still be a target. So, there's good reason not to release that information. Now, last we have our missile guidance alignment and checkout group. This is how we communicated with the missile. And we did it on paper punch tape. This is an upgraded Mylar version from the museum. And it was a pretty good system. They actually still use paper punch tape in some systems today. You couldn't erase your data with a magnet. You couldn't punch an extra hole in it because it wouldn't be read. But it was a pretty secure system. Originally, every panel in this console was full. They expected to get 10 years out of this missile. So we're approaching year 10, and they're saying, wow, everything's going pretty good. Maybe we should extend this program. Let's get more years out of this Titan II. The problem was we couldn't get replacement parts for all these panels that we had here to communicate with the missile. The original guidance system was designed by the AC Sparks Plug Company. Okay. All right, you gearheads. Okay, now, at the time that they couldn't get parts here, fortunately, the Delco Electronics Company was working in conjunction with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology on a guidance system for 747s flying over the ocean at night. That system was able to be adapted for this missile, resulting in the Universal Space Guidance System taking up one panel on this whole console. And you have more capabilities with that camera, with your cell phones, than they had then to communicate with this missile. But this was state-of-the-art in those years. Now, as the crew was sitting here, they might hear something like this. Message follows. Okay, hearing that warble tone, the commander and I reach for our binders. Commander Lisa's ahead of me, she's got hers out already. We know a message is coming in, we open our binders. Independent of each other, we write down what we hear. Every character that comes in, we write down here in this binder. Commander Lisa's doing the same thing at the same time. At the end of this message, the message says, repeat. So we swap binders. We listen to the message again and we check to see that we each got the same information. If we decide at the end of that time that we each got the same information, Commander Lisa might have been heard to say, holy cow, we might have an order coming in to launch our missile. So what we do now, since we both agreed, is we go over to the safe. We open our locks. We take out the final authentication piece that we need to verify that the order that we just received came from the President. It looks something like this stack of envelopes. Each one of them has 2 characters on it. The message that just came in is going to tell us which one of these envelopes to open. Let's say it's this one. So we open this envelope. Inside's another card. It has 5 characters on it. So we compare those 5 characters with the next 5 characters in that message. If they match, we know we have a valid order to launch our missile, and Commander Lisa says, holy cow, we have a valid order to launch our missile, and we now know it came from the President. So next we take the 2 keys to launch out of the safe. We place one in your console here, and there's one in the deputy's console. You need 2 keys to launch this missile. They have to be turned within 2 seconds of each other and held in place for 5 seconds. They're spring-loaded. If you let go of one, it's going to turn off. One person can't reach both keys. Remember, we're in a no-lone zone. Commander couldn't be here by herself anyway. Now, before we go any further, let me summarize. We got our order to launch. We verified it was from the President. With that order to launch, we got our time of launch. We entered it on the face of the clock. We got our butterfly valve code. We entered it here. That's going to open that valve for the oxidizers. So now we're set. So Commander, I'm going to ask you that you place your left hand on that key. Don't turn it yet. Are you nervous? She feels powerful. Okay. Got a good commander here. Okay, now, when we turn these keys, I'm going to give you a 3, 2, 1 turn, and it's a good time for all of you that want to take a picture, because you may want to save the day in picture. We're going to be turning to the right. After we turn, the light's going to turn on here. It's a green light, and it says launch enabled. I'm going to need to know when that light comes on, okay? But I'm going over here to turn this other key. All right? Really disappointed that you're not nervous. A little bit. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Turn your key to the right and hold. Let me know when the green light comes on. You may let go of your key. Now, Commander Lisa and I have just started a process that cannot be stopped. There is no oops button. The first light that comes on says batteries activated. The batteries on board the missile are charging right now. It takes 28 seconds to charge those batteries. When they're fully charged, the next light says APS power. That means the missile's going to take over on its own power. It's no longer going to be dependent on electricity from us. It's going to be on its own. Okay, are we there?
There it goes.
Okay, next silo soft. The 760-ton silo door is starting to move. The ticking alarm sound. I love it when it works right. Next, we have guidance go. The missile's going to take over on its own guidance system, and it's no longer going to take any communication from us. It's on its own right now. Next, we have firing of the engines. The fire alarm sounds. The engines are firing in the silo. Water's pouring into the bottom of the silo. The missile's starting to rise. It's out of the silo. We have liftoff. And in 30 to 35 minutes, Target 2 is going to cease to exist. But your job's not done. You have to close the silo door, because if you fired that missile, it meant that we had incoming. Because that's not a first strike weapon, it's a retaliatory weapon. So we want to get that silo door closed. So you close your silo door. You see that you have all these fires going on in the silo. You have to put out your fire. Then your orders are wait for further orders. The Air Force is giving you 30 days of food and water. A little bit less than that of recirculated air. So at the end of that time, you're going to have a decision to make whether you're going to go through our exit, our emergency exit from the equipment room below us. You're going to be able to get topside, or are you going to stay down here and face your fate with your crew? Might mean suffocation. A very, very sombering thought. No commander ever had to make that decision, because we never fired this weapon. And why didn't we fire it? Because of the concept of peace through deterrence. Let's say you, over there, my other troublemaker, yes, you. Let's say you're thinking of firing a weapon at me. And you say, but she has a Titan II with a 9 megaton bomb on it. If I fire at her, she's going to fire back at me. And we're going to have what's called mutually assured destruction. So you change your mind. You say, I don't think I'm going to do that. That's peace through deterrence. It was a very, very powerful concept, and it worked. All 54 sites never fired a weapon. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to head down to the silo. We're going to give the commander a little souvenir that says she turned the key. And I am obligated by the museum at this time to ask if you brought a credit card with you. Because if the missile's gone, we're going to need payment.
George can handle it.
She's like a good commander, she delegates. Good job.
By your little friend.
Oh, that's exactly right. This is a rocket engine, man. See all this stuff? These are those butterfly balls. Stage 2. Ow, I'm on fire.
I can't be without mine, but I hardly ever use it.